are live this morning on our Thursday
Hello.
morning.
Hello.
Yep, we are
Hello.
live. I just got the notification. So good morning, everybody. We're a little bit behind the times, but actually we thought we weren't going to do it till lunchtime. So we're actually early, to be honest with you.
Yes, yes. We're going to make it quick today because it's a heated debate and maybe we'll come back on later today. Who knows? But
Who knows?
my question, 20, because she's familiar with this, is like, what the heck started the investigation on the nursing homes in the first place?
Okay.
And you know, I mean, we can go on about it forever. My Aunt Deb was going on it forever this morning as well. Just because it was, you're looking at years of neglect, years of underfunding, years of trying to make, of these private companies trying to make a profit at the loss of care.
Yeah. Neglect on whose part, though? The thing is it neglect of the Ontario government? Is it the neglect of the staffing? Is it a neglect of the administration or the privatization of these companies, or all of these different things? It's a bit of a when Dana suggested this topic, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to rumble because this is my pet peeve. It has been for years and years and years. Just a bit of a background. I graduated in 1990 as a nurse and went straight into working at a nursing home situation because that's where my last placement was. And as a student, I was like, okay, yeah, this is my job situation. I'm not going to tell you which place I was there at, but within the Sudbury region, it was interesting. It was interesting. I spent 4 years there and I saw a lot of stuff. I saw a lot of stuff that was not nice. And when I left there, went on maternity leave, I swore I'd never go back into a nursing home setting. As far as the reports that were coming through, the military and whatnot coming up, it originated just because as military staff or personnel have to do, they report back to their COs, they report back to their commanding officers and on a daily basis. So when they were forced to go into the nursing home situation, to pick up the slack, to man and help and do all these different things, they saw a lot of stuff that they had to report back. And as a government agency, the Army and everybody else had to report that because that was either a criminal offense or there was, ethical things going on, and the Army or the military had an obligation to report it, and that's what all started this. So
it's mortifying, sort of, really, because we've been so blessed to have my dearest cousin taking care of my grandma in the facility in Stratford. So we're totally blessed with that. I can't imagine how people feel, and they're only doing, and I know as the caretakers that are in there, like the PSWs or the RPNs or the, or whoever, or you're just doing the best you can. You're already overworked, you're already underpaid, you're already that's why you took the field. You're so compassionate about people's care, and you're exhausted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean,
they're only doing, and I know as the care.
Yeah, so it is, but it's not something new. I mean, anybody that has worked in the nursing care field, nursing home field, long-term care field, I don't think this is new news. We've heard of incidences over the years. I mean, W5 has gone into nursing homes, all these different news agencies and whatnot. And this stuff has come out, and families have been rightly, they're right in their concern and over the years, but it's not until Doug Ford got a hold of this, or Trudeau got a hold of this, or the military got a hold of this, that now hopefully something is going to change. I mean, I've witnessed it as a new grad, and it was horrific. Thankfully, though, when I went back into the nursing care or long-term care system, this was the last place that I went to before I graduated. I didn't see it. I didn't see that level of neglect, and I didn't see that level of abuse or anything like that. So it was a nice ending to my career for sure. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It's I think probably it was and is something that is definitely going to have to be addressed, but it's not going to happen overnight. And I don't know what the solution is, to be honest with you. I'm not a politician. I'm not a administration. I don't know the ins and outs of the politics with regards to this, but I just know that there has to be a solution. Money for the staff, maybe. I don't know. But that's not going to be a guarantee.
Right. And then
people are going to be compassionate. They're just going to get more money for doing the stuff that they're doing. More regulations.
Or more regulations or more upper management care.
I don't know. Yeah. Because I know.
And then how much money will be spent on doing research studies?
Well, that's it. Years and years of it.
Years of it. Like, and how many, I'm sure that how many people have put in numerous recommendations, right?
Yep.
And they'll probably wind it all up again and spend millions on, doing business development plans or recovery plans or emergency measure plans. And oh gracious, right? Like it's just, it's an unfortunate situation. And this is where, you have so many people trying to take care of their parents at home or trying to keep their parents at home as long as possible, right? Or they do not want to go to nursing homes, period.
Yeah.
And that's where you have, that's where you have companies like Kathy McNeil's company where they do home care, or you have we have lots of these companies here in Sudbury because it's just, the age of the population. But, and then, you have Plan A trying to just provide staffing.
Yep. Well, that's it. It comes down to the staffing, but then it comes down to the pay as well. So you're not getting the pay for the PSWs, or now they even have another subsection under PSWs, PCAs, I guess they are.
Something like that. Yeah. PPA, personal.
PPA.
But I actually was going to go ahead and apply for that because I was feeling so idle. But because my mother-in-law had, she's 77 and she just wanted to make sure she was isolated, and be like, how unfair is that for James? I can't go do that. Mm-hmm. And then he's not able to go visit with his mom. Yeah. Even though she was isolated, even though we kept our distance and things like that, but it was that double check on things. And then I have my neighbor who has cancer, and I have another neighbor who has had lung clots. So we have so many people around us that I was like, crap, I can't jump in. Yeah. So who knows, you have that, like many of us, we're like, oh my gosh, how the heck can we jump in and help during this COVID time? And really it's about that. How are we going to jump in and help moving forward? Yeah. As a people. Yeah. Right. As people, as volunteers, as a community. And I know that even within our own church, right, providing for our church, we do lots of things, volunteer things. We don't have enough volunteers to do nothing. Oh. So how is that even? We're just a small little entity, but for the whole community as a whole, when you're trying to provide services for communities or for missions or for seniors or for elderly, the volunteers are few, right?
Yep. And, maybe, and that's what we need to really step up and be more of a community. I mean, I don't know what situations are like in other places, but I have heard, now I can't guarantee this is true or not, but I have heard in places like Italy, the hospital system alone is still very much family oriented, where the family has to come in and do the care. The family has to come in and help feed and bring food in and do the linens and do all these different things. I don't know if that's a situation in the nursing home care, but I can see where perhaps maybe it's going to have to be more subsidized for people staying at home, kind of like
Yeah.
what we're doing now.
Who knows?
Our
Yeah.
elderly at home, and then having, you know, the agencies like Total Nursing Care and Plan A and all these different things coming in, but the staff have to be, you know, paid well enough, because
Or you have to have that the long-term care option, that you're taking care of elderly parents or an aging parent, or that sick, it's like a sick leave, right?
Yeah.
That has to be that, or the economy needs to change so that you can actually afford to stay home.
Yeah.
That'll never happen. Like, how many billions of dollars have we just spent on COVID coverage for people, for emergency funding? Who's paying for that? We are.
Well, we are, but I don't know if it was you or somebody else had said, well, it's kind of nice to see that this money has come to us now, as opposed to going to another world country, because, you know, as opposed to helping out the other countries or whatever, which they are able to have billions of dollars to help out other countries in need. This money has been spent on us for a change, which is perspective that I thought that was really cool. And I thought, well, yeah, for sure, we need this money. And people are saying that we had the money, it was sitting there, so it was good for them to be able to give it to us for a change. But I think we're going to have to really stop and look at it and go, okay, well, we have an emergency situation within the long-term care situation community, and we have to step up again and start respecting and caring for our elders, and not just shipping them off to an institution, and you know, and really caring for our children, caring for our elders. We have to do it. It's just, I know
that's life. Yeah,
and that's
what we're supposed to be doing.
Other countries really revere their elders. Do we in this country? Not so much. And this is just like a major situation of showing that. I mean, how can we let our elders get to this point?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're spot on there. Yeah. I love the idea of how you said about Italy, where you are supposed to go in. That's part of your job. That's part of the contract, perhaps. Because I remember Stacey saying so much that there are people who have no visitors for long periods of time. No family come to visit.
Oh yeah, nobody. They just drop them off at the door, literally. I've seen it. Especially, and it's unfortunate, because I know there's a lot of illness that comes along with elderly, you know, and a lot of mental illness, unfortunately, with dementia and whatnot. And I understand that these people don't know you, perhaps they don't recognize you, or they have good days and bad days. That doesn't make them less than who they are. And
well, yeah,
and that's
you're right
at that point. So, you know, that you do need medical care at that point, but there's just so many of them out there that are just there, you know, they're sitting by themselves in their rooms, and, you know, yeah. And either a rant or a cry. That's what I was going to get into this morning.
Yeah, and I mean, the COVID is so difficult, because you can't right now. So not only are people isolated, but they're doubly isolated, even more so. And let's say even for seniors who are here at home, and seniors who are at home, they had a triple isolation. Like, it's just like, it's so crazy, because people can't then stop in, or their church community can't stop in, can't bring food over, you know, because you're so concerned with their health, and so concerned, you know, with giving them the virus. You certainly don't want to be the one causing their death, right?
No.
So I mean,
but I mean, we've come a long way with regards to the internet. We've come a long way with all these different things. Hell, there was a big thing going on about these wine ninjas. Why couldn't have we done something like that for our elders, you know? And maybe the people have, like, not necessarily wine, but just a care basket of some kind, you know?
I think they were. I think people were. I think there was lots, but you don't boast about that. You just make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, this is this kind of thing that we should have been boasting about, as opposed to, oh, I got a basket of wine on my doorstep. Well, yeah, what about your elderly neighbor down the road? You know, they could use a nice loaf of bread or some flowers or something, you know. It's just to say, hey, hope things are going. You can call me on the regular phone if you need to. A lot of these elders don't have the technology either, so they rely on phones. How many people have a landline nowadays? Making sure that all these people are connected. And that's all it takes sometimes. A lot of them probably are not used to a lot of people connecting with them that much, but even just, I would call my mother, on a daily basis. I don't do it anymore because I think she was getting tired of it, but it was just, I don't know. We put so
Yeah,
much emphasis on everything else, but the
we
elder
do. And I
the
really,
population.
I don't know about you, but I really felt, now that you look back at how the last 3 months have been, I certainly, my stress and I'll say my stress went inward, right? And I focused inward. I couldn't think outward. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so that never crossed my mind. And so it was just all very inward, trying to, how am I managing? How am I responding? How is things going? Like, it's always, so it's interesting. And I should have snapped out of it. I mean, last week I snapped out of it, but I mean, it's just an interesting reflection for sure. And that's something that's my big takeaway of how I responded to such a situation, right? Because it's not going to be the first, for sure. Let's think about that. So Doug Ford is taking over 5 long-term care facilities. They're taking over the management. Yeah, that was yesterday. So
he's
the
taking
military
over?
the government is taking over management of 5. That I haven't read that much further than that, but my aunt loves getting dirty about these things, so she's a tell-it-all kind of girl, and someday when I grow up I'll be just like her. But she was just like, the former premiers are on the board of directors for these places, right? So we're cleaning up the mess of former governments.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's all, you have to cut the books, you have to balance the books, you have to make cuts, you have to do these things. And unfortunately, this is where we are today. This is the hand we've been played. And look at the mess that he has to sort of clean up. Like even the decisions that Trudeau made during this, we're going to look back and go, holy cow. And the next prime minister is going to go, holy cow, how are we going to dig ourselves out of this? But I mean, for Doug, I mean, I'm sure that's where they were. I'm sure that's where they were before all this started. Where are we making cuts? Because he was cutting down care, was he not? That was the next set of cuts to happen at nursing care.
Schools and nursing homes, yeah.
Schools and nursing homes, right? The most, our children and our widows. And now he's like, oh my gosh, right? There's no way around it. You cannot make cuts there.
No.
And so now they're backpedaling, right? they're so backpedaling, and just to see even the demeanor, I mean, who knows? He could be just showboating, but the change on his face during this time is dramatic. I think he doesn't realize what he stepped into. I don't think a lot of people realize, because they're so focused on trying to, get their agenda through, right? They have an agenda, they've made promises, they've got to do this, they got to do that. And they're all into their little building, all into their office, all into their little bubbles, but they don't actually know the actual reality. So, when sending the military in, which is, weird that they would send military in, but that's okay, rather than a private health company or something to do an audit or to see. But that was brilliant. I'm not sure how that
put in there to help feed and keep company and everything else. I don't think they were in there for an audit.
No, like Red Cross.
Oh,
I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess like that.
Yeah.
Like emergency. That's okay. Because I was like, why the hell would he send in the army? But I get it. They're not doing anywhere. They can't be deployed anywhere. Put them to work anyways. They're getting paid. So, but yeah. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine being those men going into those facilities men and women going into the facilities and
Well, yeah, I can, because I worked it, and I know that, I've got a couple of people here that are very much on my page that are part of the nursing home situation, and it is that people that work in the system, we know this already. Unfortunately, nobody's listened to us until the military goes in and goes, boom, I'm here and this is not cool, and let's change it, or let's take it to the government. People in the nursing home setting have been bringing it to the government for years and years and years. We've been crying and the families and pleading and begging and everything else, and still nothing's been done, and I'm thankful that it finally something is going to look like it's going to be done, but it's unfortunate that it took something so severe as this for something to start changing. Even in Quebec too, they're doing a big overhaul of this as well, but they're finding a lot of negative stuff going on in the nursing home situation there as well. And it's about time. It's not too late.
no,
But it's
gosh,
about
no.
time. And I seriously, the company that I worked for in the last 6-7 years of my career was so hyper vigilant and ministry driven that it was almost on the opposite end of things. Like, we had hand washing audits on a daily basis almost, or every quarter or whatever we had to do. There's audits all the time, and the ministry was coming in, surprise visits. There was any time that the family called the ministry was right there. So I really don't understand how other facilities were able to get away with this for so long. Like, I don't understand why the ministry wasn't involved in these other homes. And families weren't calling the ministry, and the ministry wasn't following up. And thank goodness now that the curtains have been drawn open, hopefully, and we're seeing what's going on, and things were hopefully start to trickle out to be better. Because like I said, the place that I worked at, like, you couldn't, it was very, very hard to do anything. I mean,
well, yeah, because you have so many guidelines and so many strict rules.
But
how can you actually get your job done without filling out all the paperwork?
Well, no, and that's more than anything else. My job was paperwork, and I also had to look after a staff of people. Plus I had this, plus I had that, and plus I had to deal with families, plus I had to deal with the doctors, plus I had, it was a lot of work for one staff member. Stuff happens sometimes, things go through the cracks, but in the place that I was at, it was so vigilant that you weren't able to get away with anything, and you don't want to get away with anything. But I'm just saying that it's I just don't understand how this other stuff got lost, and
I know, it's crazy.
A crazy situation, because from my perspective, within minutes, staff, we worked the best that we can. We're usually like 98% of the time we were short staffed. Nurses do double shifts sometimes. We work 8 days a week. Yeah. And it wasn't
crazy.
really even money at that point, because you have a calling to do that kind of work and you do it. But yeah, I don't know. Families are either going to have to step up a little bit more, take responsibility, as opposed to bitching and complaining about it. And because until we get enough staff, maybe.
I better mic drop. Hi. Yeah, well, it's hard to say, right? And so many people can do so much, right?
I don't know what.
And people are trying to survive. People are just trying to survive and themselves, let alone take care of this as well, because they're paying huge dollars.
Oh yeah. Way more. Yeah.
Way more. Like, oh my gosh.
It's maybe the price has to come down
and funded.
And then funded a little bit, and then families have to come in as well, and on a regular basis, because It is a money business, unfortunately. One of the things that killed me every time I was working, and you know, when somebody passed, the family had to come in within 24 hours of the passing of their family member and clean out those rooms. Boom, next person in, next person in, next person in. It is, it's a hard place to work at, but it's an always going, going, going all the time like that. And that's, you know, the family never had time to grieve that much. The staff definitely didn't have time to grieve. We were given
Yeah.
opportunity to go to chapel once in a while if we had a few minutes, because we did like a celebration of life. But it's always boom, clean out the room, clean out the room, clean up the room, get the next person in, next person in, next person in. They go to the hospital more than 30 days, they lose the room. Boom, get the next person in. And there's a waiting list. It's a waiting list.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's a bad system, and it's got to change.
Well, and it will.
Yeah.
Well, it will,
It'll
and
change, hopefully for the better.
it'll hopefully change for the better. Who knows? You know, the realization of the brokenness, and same as the school system. Like that's a whole nother. I'm not. Yeah. So
I'm not
the
up on
school
the school
system.
system situation.
Well, I mean, the school system. You know, again, the same. You know, some people will bitch and complain, and that's probably another day topic, but some people will bitch and complain, well, they wanted to be the teacher, and they, so that they could have the summers off, and, you know, they get paid $90,000. But then you know, it's the same as when you're working out the dollar per hour, you're expected to work as much. And that's where people have kind of put their foot down. And now they have to they had to do school online, and they had to figure all that out, and then they had to make sure they had everything at home. And oh my goodness, what a you know, some people are doing well with it, and some people aren't at all.
They're gonna get lost.
They're gonna get lost, and that's the
I can't
unfortunate
even imagine,
thing.
you know, with all the cuts and things that came, and this again is right off topic, like we always do, but all the cuts that came for the families of autistic children, and now these children at home trying to do the best that they can to keep their education going. I can't even imagine. Like, I mean, it's comparable to having to have elderly parents and trying to look after them with a full-time job as well. I'm sorry, but it's like, yeah. How is big society going to change over the next 10 years to be able to shift, be able to help this?
Not even 10 years. They don't have 10 years. Those children now will be trying to get into colleges and universities in 10 years. Like, how are we going to change in the next, how are they going to do it? How are they going to change nursing homes because, you know, we're 50, right? So you're looking at 20 years, or my darling children will take care of me. But
that's the thing, though. I mean, they're going to have full-time jobs. They're going to have families, children and stuff like that. So how are they going to take care of us? But that's the whole society that we live in. We don't care for our elders. Aboriginal people care for their elders. The old
they used to. And they used to.
I think they care better than we do. But the old countries, maybe not. I don't know. I just keep going back to Italy. I keep thinking that, you know, they have such reverence for their elders that.
Well, they have the oldest population.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it, right? Then, yeah. A lot of the European countries, they have very old parents, but they live with them.
Well, that's the thing.
The Middle Eastern
keep them at home.
Yeah, they keep them at home. The Middle Eastern countries, like, you know, yes, we think it's ridiculous that they move. They all live together by a house. Then the next people all move together and live by a house, and that's how they take over neighborhoods, because they're smart. Because they save their money and they invest, and then they have a home for somebody, and then they move to the next, and they do those things. But they keep their parents with them.
Yeah.
They're given jobs. They're given responsibilities. They have to, like everybody else, they have to put in. They have to do that. And there's lots to learn. So,
whoo! Yep.
I'm all worked up.
All worked up. All sweaty before I get outside.
Oh my gosh. Well, I must go. I have to do things today. That's why we were going to wait till noon. but I have to get to Lively and back and take care of the things that my husband has asked of me today, because that's how I roll.
Yeah. I
So
actually have stuff to do at noon today too, but I've got to get out and do some shopping and all that kind of fun stuff.
I did my shopping last night. Nice, cool. It was too hot. Went and bought vegetables and celery, and I did my celery juice again this morning.
Yeah, I did too.
I love it. I almost
We're gonna
crave
live
it.
to 100. We're not going to have our kids looking after us.
Oh, I don't want to live to 100. Who
I
this?
do.
That's just, oh no.
I do.
Just live our lives and have fun and then pass away gently. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the ideal situation. But yeah, no, 100's my goal.
I found myself yesterday craving celery juice again about 4 o'clock. Maybe I'll just follow that call, but oh, I was so hungry about 8, like by bedtime, by 9 o'clock. Like, I don't know, I just didn't eat enough food yesterday. So big salad. Oh yeah. But
yeah, I actually just cut up raw vegetables for my supper and gave my husband hot dogs because that's what he wanted. And then he ate all my vegetables. I was like, what the hell? So I had to go get him more.
Of course they do. Of course they do. It's always the, I make him beautiful vegetables and rice or potato and chicken. And then I make myself a nice salad with, strawberries on top, because he doesn't really like, well, I always think he doesn't like fruit or nuts in his salads. And then he's like, oh, you get the fancy salad. Just like.
Yeah, well, I'm fancy. I need that. That's how I keep the fancy.
It's how we keep fancy. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Take care.